Welcome to the Get Emergent podcast. The Get Emergent podcast guides leaders to creatively strengthen relationships and improve performance of their leadership and those that they lead. We like to provide concepts and ideas that you can turn into pragmatic experiments to help you develop your higher potential in your work and in your leadership. And we hope that you'll find some better practices to apply in your work. I'm Bill Berthel.
And I'm Ralph Simone.
Ralph, our mission is to raise the consciousness of individuals, leaders, teams, and organizations. And in this episode, we want to talk about teams. One way that we can help teams or groups really make significant progress or breakthroughs, I know you've got to witness that, I have as well, is through really bringing the coaching modality to groups, to teams, different than a one-on-one, but really be able to coach a group or an intact team towards some more purposeful action through some challenges they might have, maybe even uncovering what they don't know so they can be much more dynamic and have breakthroughs.
It gets me thinking about an old role that we might think of as a meeting facilitator. But I often think of group coaching as our opportunity to hold the space and to facilitate discussion, which helps create alignment or identify areas of misalignment among an intact team. And I remember when I fell in love with this word facilitate, I think it literally means to make easy. And you're kind of opening and closing the gate, but you're making it easy for people to be heard, to be acknowledged, to be validated. So it has a feel of one-on-one coaching, but it is a one-to-many relationship because it's a senior leadership team, or it's a project team, or it's a tiger team, something of that nature.
The idea of facilitation, right, to make that easier is there's a both and of some structure and some really kind of amorphous looseness, only just holding the space for the group, right? Just holding that space is part of the facilitator's role, or in our case, the coach's role, because we're really talking about coaching here.
I worked with a leadership team of a sales organization for almost 2 years in this group coaching. And what was in it for them is that they rarely spent an hour together frequently to talk about some of the more strategic issues. But it was pretty loose. I'd do a check-in, what's on your mind? And sometimes the facilitation was trying to sort out the things that were most essential for them to be discussing as a team.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes it needs a little more structure. I was just finished about a year-long engagement with a senior leadership team that really started more structured than that. That's what they needed at the time. And there were some topics that were more like teach pieces, some skill building to begin with, some fundamental skill building, like building more psychological safety and trust amongst themselves, better communication. But it really morphed into just holding the space for their topics and conversations to come to surface, be able to talk those out and get to, if not a solution, a way to move forward and experiment with something differently for their team.
What I love about the group coaching concept is it really showcases the consultant in the classroom, but without all of the formality. So in other words, you're holding the space, what comes up, but you have enough knowledge that you can kind of facilitate the discussion. You can actually teach something of a leadership practice or a team practice that enables this group to be more effective going forward. And so I love it that I think it showcases our ability to be a coach, a consultant, a facilitator, all in one, and it moves a group forward.
So if we just shared a couple examples of some experiences we've had, but what kind of teams do you think or groups benefit most from a group coaching experience?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think senior leadership team, because I think the process of aligning around strategy and structure is dynamic. It's ongoing.
Yes.
I think a high visible project team. So if you're standing up a new product line, a new service, I think facilitating that in a group coaching format would also be good. And perhaps a team that's struggling to perform and really utilizing the group coaching to kind of get at what are some of the causes for the performance issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I had an opportunity a few years ago to work with two different sales teams within the same organization that were almost not intentionally competing for resources within the organization and not even knowing that was happening. And it was harming both teams. All right. But there was a leader who recognized that these two separate sales teams would benefit coming together in a facilitated discussion on a regular basis. The breakthrough was amazing. They figured out ways to not only share resources but really synergize, right? Because they had some common goals without knowing it.
Well, I think what you do with group coaching versus individual coaching is you establish a healthier relationship between the tension of competition and cooperation.
Absolutely.
There's a place for individual competition, but then there's also a place for cooperation and collaboration. And I think it helps establish that tension.
Sometimes teams come to us knowing they would like some type of experience, but they don't know exactly where to start. And we've utilized a few different team assessments in that space as well, really being able to give some kind of baseline objective data. So we can also measure the functionality of teams. We can measure the self perspective of how effective teams are in different aspects of team performance. And so sometimes it's just knowing we want to improve, we want it a little differently, a little better, but not knowing where to start. There's ways to measure that.
The other thing that comes up for me is group coaching is a good way to re-energize a standing meeting,
Mm,
intact team or group. So anything over time can get stale.
yeah.
And even the idea of, well, what is this group even coming together for? So as you kind of revitalize that, and one of the things that I've seen a huge benefit though is just creating alignment or identifying where people are misaligned because they're not in conversation often long enough as a group to really understand where people fall on certain issues. And I think it creates alignment or identifies misalignment. And when we have alignment, we have a lot less pain, a lot less noise, and a lot less wasted energy in organizations. So I think that's one of the real big benefits in the group coaching process.
Yeah. And I would jump to the opposite end of the timeline. Newly formed teams really get a strong start in those early stages of establishing some operating ground rules, establishing a team vision, a purpose, really getting a strong start for newly developed teams as well. It doesn't have to be stale, it could be brand spanking new, and you want to get it off to a really strong start.
Well, I think as silly as this sounds, a lot of times when groups or teams go off the rails, it's because they don't have agreed upon ground rules to govern how they will behave. They aren't intentional about making it a safe space. They steer clear of conflict as opposed to encouraging ways to constructively work through it. And I think having a coach, a facilitator, doing the group coaching can help people move through those things with less residual and really get to where they need to get.
And sometimes it's really moving from being a work group to a team. I think we might call some of our groups teams, and we're really not operating at that cohesive level of real teamwork, right? A work group is a group of people who are working together and doing some similar work. They may or may not be very well aligned. Teams have defined common goals and continuously work on their alignment towards those goals. We work, no offense, we work with a lot of work groups that are aspiring to be teams. And,
We call it group coaching, not team coaching.
that's right.
Which I don't know if we did intentionally or it happened at the unconscious level. But I think it's really interesting. And this is where team sometimes gets overused in organizations because unlike a sports team where the goal is crystal clear
Right.
and people are aligned around it. And so it brings us back to really one of the things that's in it for you to do group coaching is to really create alignment around a goal or a common set of goals so that you can go from a group to a team. And I think that's one of the tremendous values. Again, we have a lot of energy expended in organizations because people are working at cross purposes.
Absolutely. Ralph, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
And thanks for listening, folks. We hope you enjoyed this episode and that you're looking forward to more. You can listen to a new podcast 2 times every month here at Get Emergent or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you pick something up you're going to use or apply to your leadership and your work, let us know how that goes. And please reach out to us at support@getemergent.com or directly to myself or Ralph. Thank you.